My name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My thing is helping you as a solopreneur, as a side hustler, or as a non-traditional entrepreneur, and to help you on your journey with lots of tidbits and information. Now, today we're going to talk about Adam Grant, one of my favorite people. I met him at TED a few years ago. Cool guy. He's best known for his TED Talks as well as his books with Sheryl Sandberg called Option B. He has a couple bestsellers. My favorite of his is called Originals, which came out a few years ago. That's when I met him at TED, and really good stuff. He's a Wharton professor over in the greater Philly area, and he talks about how we can be productive and create amazing things from our viewpoint, which you can tell how I really resonate with his work. Now, what we're going to talk about specifically is how he talks about time management. And I love this quote. In fact, I quote it in my new book, Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. And here is his quote on time management. He says, "I'm bad with time management, but great at attention management. If I'm choosing people on projects that matter to me, then it doesn't matter how long they take. It doesn't matter how long they take." That's the line that always gets me. I love it. I talk about the quote briefly in Built From Now, and I actually get much deeper into it because time, as you can tell on here, is one of the main resources discussed in Built From Now. Let's talk about what he means by that and what I got from it. Number one, you need to stop worrying about how much time you have. In my research particularly for Build From Now, and from the hundreds of people, approaching thousands of people that I've coached or connected with who are in entrepreneurship or creative world, people who have a lot of time tend to have the same issues as people who don't have much time. People who have a lot of time tend to say, I want to do this big thing. I have a lot of time. I will start tomorrow. People who don't have a whole lot of time say, I want to do this big thing. I don't have much time, so I'm not even going to get started. They both have the same issue, the same dilemma. If you worry about how much time you have, you often will not get started. Me talking to you right now, if you follow any of my stuff, you know I have two little kids. Right now they're 4 and 7. I'm a stay-at-home dad. We're still sheltering in place. To give you an idea as far as the timeline of when this is being recorded, it is an amazingly crazy time. And I'm still taking time to spend time with you because I can take 5 minutes to chat with y'all and to hopefully elevate your game. If I worried about how much time I had, I would never have gotten started in talking with you in the first place. So number one, stop worrying about how much time you have. Just get started. So that's number one. Number two, figure out where you should focus, which you're seeing a pattern here is also one of our main resources. Focus, agility, time, and energy. So focus. Figure out where you're going to focus. What's important to you? What's his name? Essentialism, who's the author is Greg McKeown. This is spontaneous, so I'm just going to pull it off the bookshelf, and luckily it's right here. His book, Essentialism, awesome book, highly recommended. I've talked to him briefly online. Again, Greg McKeown, it's been a New York Times bestseller for like years. I talked to him years ago, and it's still on the bestsellers list. He says that if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. And that goes back to the origins of the word priority, which according to him, I believe is Greek, and it means the one. So there's no such thing as priorities, right? There's only a priority, right? So once you figure out what you want to focus on, then it becomes, going back to Adam Grant, it goes back to attention management. What's going to hold your attention? Now, this is important for a few different reasons, but the main one that pops up to mind, the priority that comes to mind, is because we have so many things that are pulling at us. Like, I'm approaching middle age. I'm a young Gen Xer, early Gen Yer. For the Gen Yers and folks that are listening that are younger, all the stuff that we're dealing with, the amount of things that are grabbing our attention, it's at a record high. My mother, and definitely my grandmother, and rest in peace, my great-grandmother, didn't have to deal with our stuff. And so it's really important that we focus in on what's going on. As I'm talking to you, my phone is over there. It's basically off or in airplane mode. You know, my family's resting. Like, I'm focused just on y'all. So you have to decide what you're going to focus on. That's what he means by attention management, right? It's not time management, because you can have all the time in the world. Again, I found this in my research. You can have all the time in the world and not get anything done. But your attention, though, that is valuable. That's why the Facebooks, the Googles, the YouTubes, which you're probably watching us on, the Instagrams, which you also might be watching us on, why those things are so valuable is because they are trading our attention on the stock market, quite literally. And our attention and how much we give them actually affects their stock price. Think about your own stock price and what stock sorry, I'm going to play on words here, what stock you're putting into your projects. If you want to write that book, if you want to do that startup, if you want to create, do something bigger, even pivot into your job. If you're more of an entrepreneur or you're working on your business or your career, what do you want to focus on? Where do you want to be in the future? I have other videos and other discussions that talk about that, but leave it at where you want to focus on. And if you figure out where your attention should go, then your time becomes less of a factor. You can have a little bit of time and it'll be the same thing. I talk about that briefly in The Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, which is why it's called The Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, because I was able to do my startup and have success with actually both of them while I was the primary caretaker of my first son, who at the time was a baby. I understand the crunch of time. I get it. The thing is that where's your attention going? And if you know where your attention's going, then you can master the time part. If you want more insight as far as how to master your resources, come over to buildfromnowquiz.com. That's buildfromnowquiz.com. I have a free assessment based on my upcoming book, depending on when you're listening to this, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. And we'll talk about the 4 different resources. It's a free quiz. It's literally 3 or 4 questions. Hundreds of y'all have taken it, which I so appreciate. And you can go through it, I heard, in like 2 minutes, really quick. And it'll give you insight as far as what resource is the biggest for you. Once you figure that out, then you can go and play to your strengths. And it'll give you good insight for the book if you haven't read it yet. And if you have read the book, it'll give you even deeper insight because there are chapters dedicated to each of the resources. Until then, think about your attention management. Remember, you can always bring your worth and that you can always build from now. Take care.